Welcome back to another episode of the Nick Cage Fight Podcast, where we, all three of us, routinely fail the bag test. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by Rich and Ryan, here to wrap up Firebirds. Are we excited?
I'm failing the bag test right now.
I'm eating ice cream all fucked up.
I'm sorry, that might seem like a short or underthought joke, but the terminology, the bag test in this movie was probably my favorite part of it. I don't know why. I don't know what it refers to, but it's a cool thing to say. So where we last left off in the movie, Little had just challenged Preston to a friendly boxing match, and Preston knocked his ass out. Did not go great for Little, but he shakes it off, gets up the next day, back in class, and gives the pilots a rundown on the enemy pilot, who I think this might be the second, maybe third time we actually hear him referenced by name, which is Stoller. I refer to him in my notes for most of the runtime of the film as the cartel pilot, because it's, you know, he's the only real bad guy that's given a face or a name, and they sort of cop out on the name bit.
By the way, I just looked it up. The actor who plays him has one credit, and it's Firebirds.
Boom. He does great. So we talked about this before we started recording, and I think now is the perfect time to address it. So for this bad guy, I think maybe to save money on the model work that they did for the combat scenes, we have the opening scene of the movie where Cage is describing Preston's mission, where Stoller wiped out like almost everybody else on the mission except him, and he escaped. So we get to see him there, but the rest of the information we get about him is from like briefings and classroom shit. And I think, like I said, to save money, the way they do it is they just have a bunch of like black and white photos of him, and it just makes it look like he would have fucking crushed it in the age of Instagram. It's just like him wearing like fatigues and military hats, like smoking cigars and wearing fucking, you know, like mirrored sunglasses. There's a picture of him like holding an Uzi to somebody, but there's no like visible like violence or bloodshed in any of them.
Yeah, he is a poor man's Fidel Castro. I guess that's actually Raul Castro. So he's a poor man's Raul Castro.
So I just found a strange piece of information about that dude. I was trying to find if there was any other credits that weren't maybe on IMDb, and the reason they're not is because he's a producer for softcore porn.
Oh,
yeah. Burt Rhine is the name, the man's name, owner of Burt Rhine Productions. And let me read off some of these fucking credits for you.
We've give us the titles, man.
The Wildest Office Strip Party, Battling Beauties, Best Chest in the West, and here's the really important one: Nude Cigar Smoking.
That actually 100% lines up with my assumption that he submitted some of those black and white photos himself.
Yeah, totally.
He's a cigar and softcore porn aficionado. That's fucking amazing. God damn, I'm so glad that I got in your head to look into that. So they try to set him up as like a scary badass. Up to this point in the movie, we've only seen him doing actual murder in the very first scene, and the rest are just the coolest fucking black and white photos you've ever seen of this guy. Just looks like a badass. It's pretty fantastic, I'm not gonna lie. So after this class, Preston is taken out in the Apache with Little, and he has to fly using just the sensor equipment with the little monocle attachment that he couldn't pull off appropriately in the simulator. And once again, he just can't seem to get the hang of it. Whereas the first time he went out in the Apache, he's doing loop-de-loops, he's swooping all over the fucking place. When he's stuck just using the sensor equipment, he is wobbling, poor turns. They do a good job, at least, of making the shots from the exterior of the helicopter of him trying to do these maneuvers look far less competent than his previous attempts flying around. So Little cuts the test short, says, "You did not do this appropriately. and you're on probation until further notice, basically. And so Preston takes this kind of hard, and Billy actually seeks him out and gives him some kind words, and also advises him on what she thinks his problem is. And she thinks it's an eye dominance problem. She thinks, I think her father had a similar situation where he's right-handed, but his left eye is the dominant eye.
They spend so much time on this.
They do.
They dedicate like 10 minutes to explaining to people what eye dominance is, why it would be a problem, and like how to check what your dominant eye is. They spend so much time where just a simpler plot point would have been he's nervous. Nah, eye dominance.
No, it ties into like multiple characters and what they have to overcome and blah, blah, blah. It's the key thing that Preston has to overcome in his character arc, besides learning how to talk to women, I think.
Yeah. Which he never actually overcomes.
Nope, he does not.
No, it's a movie in the 80s. He doesn't change. Just, the girl realizes that he was the right one all along.
But I will say this, and this was the very first fucking thing that came to my mind when they described this. I was like, do they make any of those helmets with the monocle thing on the left side?
No, it's the U.S. military. It's made,
everything's one size fits all.
Yeah, they make everything the way that Russia made shoes in the 70s. Just they make one size and hope it's good.
But like, do they have shit for left-handed people in the military?
No, they don't. Learn to not be weird, you left-handed freaks.
I mean, until like the 90s, they would teach kids who would start to write left-handed to just write with your right hand instead. You'd get whacked with the ruler on your knuckles.
Well, they did that to my dad.
That was the fucking Catholics.
That's not just the Catholics. That was like fucking public school too, from my understanding.
Really?
Yeah.
Were we letting the Catholics teach in public school at that time too? I don't know.
Don't want to know.
I every time I heard that talking point, I thought it was in conjunction with like Catholic schooling. So I wasn't sure that we were actually hitting left-handed kids in regular public schools.
Now, hang on, Josh, because you're getting real close here to some anti-Italian discrimination.
Yeah, you can't
talk about the Catholics.
You got Irish Catholics.
No, that's still anti-Italian discrimination.
Irish Catholics are Italian by default.
Yes, if you're Catholic, you're Italian.
I would disagree with that. The Irish Catholics went way harder for their faith than the Italians ever had to.
Well, they really did.
Harder than the Crusades?
Well,
more justified than the Crusades.
Yes,
maybe?
Absolutely.
Good God. That's a spin-off podcast right there. Let's just have us idiots
talk about things that are more justified than the Crusades.
Yeah,
there's a lot of them. I know a lot about the Crusades. Not a lot of that was cool for anyone involved.
No, not very cool or legal. Anyway, so they set up the eye dominance thing, which actually factors relatively heavily into the movie for the next 20 minutes, roughly.
It's just so weird. It's like a PSA for eye dominance.
Look, they threw it in. They resolved it almost immediately. Calm down. It's a very good closed loop. This is good storytelling.
So I think the reason this appeals to me is because I did have eye dominance problems as a child. I actually had eye surgery because there was a muscular problem in my right eye. And they had to have me with the eye patch pretty much until I was like 8 years old. I would have to put the eye patch on my less dominant eye to make sure I wouldn't get a lazy eye.
They did that to my brother.
You were a pirate until you were 8. That's fucking
awesome.
Yeah.
It does not translate to cool. First of all, kids don't respect pirates. Second of all, patches are way less cool than they are in the movies. They're just these weird flesh tone bandages, and it makes people think something awful happened to you. But mostly it's just an object of scorn and ridicule to small children. But the thing that cracks me up about my brother's issue with this is he tried it for a while at the insistence of my parents. He was like, fuck this. Eventually stopped. My parents stopped, never went back to an eye doctor. And the kid has some of the best hand-eye coordination I've ever met outside of somebody who does like athletics or video games for a living. He just learned how to cock his head the appropriate way. He gets all the visual information he fucking needs. So my point is, don't listen to your parents. You don't have to wear that dumb patch and get made fun of. It'll work out. No, that's not medical advice. This is just one specific example that I've seen. So we get the eye dominance issue introduced, and Billy explains it, helps define what's going on for us, the viewer. And Preston goes and corners Little on at like a grocery store and basically asks him for help. Little kind of brushes him off here. I think well, I don't think in this part of the story, he is still struggling with his passing of the torch situation and accepting that as his lot. So he is a little bit brusque with Preston, who sort of storms off. That night, Little is at home and he gets up sort of in the middle of the night and goes and gets, now we've referenced this a couple times, we're here, guys, get excited. This is the weird eating of the ice cream scene. He grabs like some kind of like chocolate covered ice cream bar from the fridge and just eats it in the most passive manner I've ever seen somebody consume one of these. No bites, just sort of a smearing between the lips in an open mouth.
He just puts it in his mouth a couple of times.
It's odd. His lips are covered in chocolate. We never even see the ice cream inside the ice cream bar. I have no idea if it was chocolate or vanilla, and that question is going to keep me up at night. But he has a conversation with his wife while he's doing this.
And he's got it in his mouth while he's speaking full sentences too, which is like, I think some of that was ADR.
It's such an amazing decision to take the scene in that direction. It's in 100% super distracting. I had to go back to get what the important part of this scene was, because it was just like, why is he fucking eating the ice cream like that, man? I've never seen anybody consume one of these in this fashion. And I must have witnessed hundreds of these types of tasty treats being eaten in real life over the course of my lifetime. Never seen this method employed. I'm going to try it myself next time I find an opportunity to do so. But I just don't get it. Maybe it's the best way to fucking eat those things. I don't know. And I do not get it. But it makes for some compelling cinema.
I couldn't look away. The best part is when his wife is like, come back to bed. And he's like, can I bring my ice cream?
Can I bring my ice cream? And she's like, yeah, it's going to take you 3 fucking hours to finish it, dude. What are you going to do with it otherwise? But we do learn that Little had a problem with the same eye dominance thing. It's super weird that Preston has this problem, Billy's father had this problem, and Little had this problem. And they're all like, holy shit, we know exactly what the fuck's going on here. It seems odd. But hey, look, this is pure 90s trash. Strap in. If this is what breaks your suspension of disbelief, then you haven't been watching the rest of this film. Did you see the ice cream scene? Who eats it? So I think this conversation with his wife is supposed to signal Little's addressing of his issue with this pass the torch problem that he's been having, because the very next day he sets out to try and help Preston figure this situation out. And he goes about it in much the same fashion that he tackles eating an ice cream bar, which is the most batshit possible approach that they could have fucking come up with. Because what we see is Preston in the driver's seat of a Humvee with, I guess it's a Humvee. I'm sorry, I might be using wrong terminology. It's an open top Jeep looking fucking military vehicle, right? But he has strapped to his face what looks like a homemade periscope that, before video games were invented, you'd get these like little kits or something on the back of a fucking cereal box telling you how to make it with little tiny mirrors.
Yeah, like 2 mirrors, toilet paper roll.
Yeah. It's one of those, and it's sort of strapped to his face with tape. And
it's pantyhose. It's wrapped around his face. It's pantyhose.
It's not pantyhose. It's a pair of panties.
Is it a pair of panties?
It's just a pair of red panties.
The one woman does say he's got panties on his face.
Yeah,
like halfway through the scene. But
no, but I also think the fucking periscope is taped on there, because I think And I'm not entirely sure because the scene does no solid explaining of why what the contraption is doing. But I think the panties are just supposed to blind his other eye, which I feel like they could have done with something else. But he
But
has a
it's
pair
not
of
panties.
red panties wrapped around his face, and the periscope strapped to his one eye. And now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't even check to see if it was the eye he had fucking problems with.
But
I'm
like,
hoping.
but like, why even have the periscope at that point? Like, just have them.
It's because the thing that he's looking through in the helicopter isn't actually like a 1-for-1. Yeah, it's
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of
It's
sense.
about processing the data in like a not 1-for-1 ratio, while still not crashing, I think is the primary goal of it. Either way, it's fucking absurd. It looks absurd, and nobody in the scene, at least with the primary three actors, are addressing how fucking absurd it is. But we do get some help on that front a little bit later on. So on top of all of it, despite the whole contraption on his head, I'm fairly certain Breaker is spray painting the windshield.
I think you're right on that. Yeah,
which makes no fucking sense.
I missed that, but I couldn't get over the panties on the head, to be absolutely fair.
That is normal. That is a regular human reaction to the scene that we're watching. So, but anyway, they take him on an insane fucking ride where he's getting instructions from Little, observing through the periscope and sort of just dodging around this base. He's driving pretty erratically. They take him off road. He hits a fucking cactus or some shit at some point. He doesn't crash into anything else specifically, but in my opinion, the scene doesn't demonstrate great driving. We've seen Nick Cage drive great in Gone in 60 Seconds. This was not that kind of performance.
No, they were begging him to not kill them.
Yeah. So the last funny bit is at one point while he's driving around, some important person on the base, like some high level officer, like pulls up next to him in a civilian vehicle, and his wife or girlfriend or some woman is in the car with him, and is like the line that Ryan says, like, he's got panties on his head, and like Little like salutes stiffly, and then they just drive off. It's weird, but at least it lends some like rational discussion of what they're doing and how absurd it is to the scene. But it's probably not needed because it was obviously bonkers. Still fun, a little slapstick.
Fun little scene.
Yeah, it's not terrible. So Preston goes back to the simulation machine and trains with the just sensor stuff and seems to be doing much better. And then after that, Preston has his last shot in a live flying scenario to qualify using just the sensors to navigate, and he passes. So there you go. Eye dominance problem. Little overcomes his issue about being, the changing of the guard, helps him overcome it, puts him through a very strange placeholder for like a training montage, and then the guy passes. All done. Eye dominance is done with. We're done with it.
Over in like 7 minutes.
Oh, 100%. It's great. You introduce the problem, you fucking solve it, you move on. That's storytelling, baby.
You move on to the last act of the film, which hits you in the fucking face.
Yeah, well, sort of. So we got another thing that is going to happen first, which is the sort of conclusion of the romance arc that is occurring in this, because Preston goes to see
conclusion
Billy.
Part 1, I would say.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it sets the tenor. Like, their relationship doesn't evolve past this point. Basically, they have a brief moment where it seems like it should all break down again, but it doesn't. Nobody gives a shit. So I mark this as basically the conclusion of it. So Preston goes to see Billy in the gym and explains that he passed the bag test, which is what they use to refer to flying with just the sensors, and Preston asks Billy to go and celebrate with him. This involves driving out to like some sort of semi-resort, I guess, some distance from the base, and they dance and they kiss and they definitely do it. Also, between episodes, we checked, there is exposed breast in this film, but it is split second, so we think that's how it maintained its PG-13 rating.
Yeah, it is blink and you miss it.
Yeah, it really is. I thought I was losing my mind when I was trying to prove my claim to my fellow hosts, but I did. I was right. Happens often, but
Yeah, I completely missed it.
yeah, it is. It's a darkly shot scene anyway. But at the conclusion, or rather the next day, Preston is still in celebration mode, but Billy has to go back for some sort of test for her radar helicopter thing, and so they head back. Now there's a little dynamic that's established here. There's a callback joke to it at the very end of the movie, so I'll explain it. When they go to leave the base and when they go to go back, Preston has this nice car. I'm assuming it looks nice. I don't know a lot about cars.
Not a
But
car
Billy,
guy.
yeah, Billy insists on driving it, and she gets her way basically both times, both on the trip out and the trip back. And so they head back, and there is a final test to see who gets picked for the mission against the cartel, and it includes sort of the students in the pilot training versus teachers, and they're like, they're handpicked associates or whatever. And in this case, of course, it's got to be Preston and Breaker against Little and his gunner, and they fly around. There's some impressive flying from both Little and Preston, but ultimately, after trying to set a trap for Preston, Little loses him in the canyon, sets up, and he's like, he's definitely going to come around this corner. Gunner, get ready. And Preston surprises him by coming around the other way and getting the kill shot, the simulated kill shot on Little. So he does succeed in this final test. Now we get another. What was that?
Real quick, I want to ask you two what you think BAG stands for, if it's got any actual meaning in terms of the BAG test.
I honestly, I didn't give it much thought, but I figured since they were just working with sensors, I figured it was like a reference to like just having a bag over your head.
That's what I thought.
Correct.
That's what I thought too. That was just a bag over your head. Yeah, just have to kind of feel your way through it.
Yeah, I double checked. I thought maybe it was an acronym or something. No, it's just as if you have a bag over your head.
Flying blind, right?
Yep.
Hey, that's funny because I did not expect to be right there. I figured that the analogy worked just fine for my purposes, and I got the spirit of it, but I was not
right.
Sure.
But also it's a U.S. military. I was half expecting it to stand for like big ass gunner. I don't know.
That would rule. That's fucking Doom.
Yeah, the BFG.
BFG. Yeah.
I remember as a kid, you know what that stands for, right? I'm like, what? Like, I can't say.
I can't. You don't want me to say that word. You're trying to trick me right now.
Nice try, buddy. I'm not getting in trouble today.
nice try. The teacher's right there.
So we get another general briefing. The cartel is at the airfield they set up, and they don't explain why. They don't do a whole lot of fleshing out of what the bad guys are doing and why at the moment that they need to be killed with missiles. But essentially, like, all the cartel bigwigs are going to be at this airstrip, and they're going to go somewhere else. And it's very important that they stop them here because this is their only chance to do it. Like, they have surveillance on these guys. I don't understand. I really don't understand.
My guess would be smuggling, but it's never actually laid out.
Yeah, I was the bigwigs, they're just gonna leave the country and go somewhere. I don't get what the bad guys plan.
Well, they got to go to Cuba so they can meet with their CIA contacts.
Yeah, there's a lot. I kind of figured that it was, and again, I might be giving this movie too much credit, but I kind of figured it was like they're smuggling something, and after this, the trail's going cold. They don't know where they're going, but they know that they're here now, so they have to do it now.
Yeah, I don't know. See, here's the thing. Relatively mindless action movies are one of my guilty pleasures. I do like when they clearly, even if it's just filled with MacGuffins and nonsense, I like when they establish it, because it's just one of my favorites, one of my favorite mindless action series is the Mission Impossible movies. But it's always like they're stealing nuclear weapons and they got to trade them, or it's like, oh, they have a list of all of our spies and double agents and stuff, and we can't let it fall into their hands. It's all nonsense, and they put like fake hacking and security and shit into it. But at least I know the basic premise of what's going on. I
Don't forget
don't.
rubber masks. You got to have the rubber masks in the Missions Impossible.
Well, I mean, but see, that's part of like the fluff that makes it cool. But
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
have to explain, all right, this is the bad guy. This is what we got to stop. They're going to set off a nuke. They want to start a world war. They want to kill all of our double agents. And these are the Maltese Falcons that will get them there, right?
Right. And they also want to stop us from making money at patreon.com/Nick Cage Fight. Obviously.
100%. That's usually the bad guys' aims. Do you want to help the bad guys? Or do you
Sorry,
want
Depends
to
on
fight?
how cool and sexy they are.
I know you're in the middle of something, but it's like I see a transition. I have to take it.
No,
I have to take this transition.
No, that's perfect. And you do have to jump in because I get on a roll with stupid shit. And the real shit is directing people to our Patreon.
Yeah. Do you want to finish your stupid shit and then we'll go to ads?
I don't know. Are the ads going to be for like rubber masks or cool nuclear devices?
If-
Did we
if-
click the illegal ads button yet?
Or that
yes,
totally sick knife
yes,
that
I
Jean
did.
Reno has in the first one.
I did click illegal ads. So
It's for
like maybe we'll get some like .onion shit.
It's for explosive bubble gum. I always like that in the first one.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
I did also love for the longest time. It was one of the older internet memes. The scene where he smacks the explosive gum on the cockpit of the helicopter. You see, it all ties together. But somebody just photoshopped in him slapping a holographic Charizard Pokemon card on the thing, and the whole thing blows up. Yeah, good times. Anyway, listen to these fucking ads. If it's for ice, don't apply. If it's for the Amish, there's better places to go to vacation.
And
But
if
not
it's for
Hawaii.
illegal, and if it's for illegal stuff, illegal stuff tends to be fun.
It does. That's why they make it illegal. They don't want you to have fun.
You know, fun is not allowed.
I hope it's an ad for lawn darts.
Lawn darts are fun.
And
I don't think
illegal.
I don't think you need to advertise those. I think people know that they're fun. They just hear the name. It's a product that sells itself.
Wait, lawn
And
darts are
kills
illegal?
children. Yeah, they've been since the 70s, man.
Too many kids lost eyes. They had to
Damn.
wear weird eye patches.
It all comes back together. All right, here we go, ads. Now, listener, if you didn't give us money, the terrorists have won.
Yeah, they're gonna get the MacGuffin. It's gonna be a problem for all of us. So do your part.
Stop terrorism. Stop Cuba.
We got to figure out a way to shoehorn in a Patreon episode of Starship Troopers because now I want to watch Starship Troopers.
I always
we
want to
can
watch
get there.
Starship Troopers. Yeah.
Me too. We're
We
doing
can
our
get
part.
there, I'm sure.
I mean, this technically we could do a tie-in because the last chunk of it is set in Argentina, and the beginning of Starship Troopers is set in Argentina.
That is a loose connection. We got to be able to find a better one.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've never had a Cage. I think we've talked about this before. We've never had Cage in a Verhoeven flick, right?
As far as I know, that is correct.
We got to find it. If anybody can stitch together a spurious set of circumstances that allow us to consider Starship Troopers a Nick Cage adjacent film, it's this crew right here. We are
I'm going to
masters of
start
our
working
craft.
on it
I
right
think the
now.
path to victory is checking the cinematographers and editors on all of his movies and seeing if they've done any Cage related work.
That is an idea. So, at this briefing, where they're going over the cartel doing something nefarious at this airstrip, and they have a limited amount of time to pull off this mission. They specifically set a time frame on it. They have 24 hours to get this shit done. And so we jump into the mission briefing where the general who's been getting this information assembles the pilots and explains that they have been selected for Operation Firebird. There we go. We get the tie-in to the title of the film, and he tells them that they're all shipping out. And surprise, surprise, Little is getting tapped to be the flight leader. He is going to be on the mission. He's going to be flying. So he gets his way at the very end after he had made peace with just being a teacher as opposed to an actual combatant. This is just to go to show you that this movie ties very closely to real life, where if you just accept limitations, you'll get what you wanted in the first place and don't ever have to deal with actual disappointment or personal growth. But no, it's cool. Little gets to fly on this. I'm just, making fun just a little bit here. So Preston it finds out that Billy has been tapped to fly her radar helicopter on this mission as well, and he is not particularly happy. He confronts her about it, and says that she shouldn't be doing this. And she sort of fires back. So it's like, so it's okay that I'm in the military as long as I'm never in actual danger. This is what I signed up for. We both do this stuff. You should respect my autonomy to make these decisions. And Preston gets so mad that he does a sick, sweet axe kick into the air. It's pretty fantastic.
It's a very good kick. Listen, we have seen Nick Cage do air kicks before, and they're all phenomenal.
They are. It could arguably be considered one of his signature moves, but this is a particularly sweet one,
especially a young Nick Cage. It's a young Nick Cage move.
Yeah, it solid air kick. I like it very much. But we see all the helicopters flying down into South America. We get some text on the screen that says South America. It does not get more descriptive than that. And then when they arrive, they're briefed and told that they need to expect and prepare for facing the cartel pilot Stoller in air-to-air combat. He is going to be running security for this operation on the cartel side. So the next morning on site for where they're launching, I guess, this forward base or something like that, Little and Preston have a conversation, and it's very tropish. I didn't write down any of the particular lines, but it's basically them expressing respect and admiration for each other and admitting that the faults that they've both carried into their relationship thus far in the film. It's kind of them connecting on a level as peers for the first time, because up until now it's Little been expressing or pushing Preston to realize his potential, and Preston being cocky and arrogant in regards to his own skills. Again, like I said, kind of formulaic, kind of tropish, but it does put a nice little bow on the evolution of their relationship at this point in the film.
Now, at this point in the film, too, I did the thing where I checked how much time was left in the movie. So I'm going to throw in like a little spoiler alert, but this movie was made in 1990, so fuck off. There's 15 minutes left in this movie. In a movie today, this scene would happen at the midway point. And I'll tell you exactly what would happen in a movie today. Bad guy wins. Tommy Lee Jones dies, but his dying breath is either something cryptic that will help later, or him saying you just have to believe in yourself and you can do it. Training montage. Nick Cage gets his groove back and then goes out for another helicopter fight, but this time wins against all odds.
You're making a strong argument as to why this movie is better in its current form than it would have been.
This part is better because I don't need all that, because as I'm watching it, my brain is so fucking poisoned from these goddamn Marvel movies where I'm just like, they're not giving Tommy Lee Jones enough time to die. What's going on?
Well,
fair.
It's very
absolutely fair. I did also just find a very tenuous connection that could get us to Starship Troopers. The editor for Starship Troopers also edited G-Force.
Son of a bitch. What? Really?
Yeah, right?
Oh, that's a Patreon episode. We have to talk about the similarities between G-Force and Starship Troopers.
He also edited Showgirls, Detroit Rock City, Pearl Harbor, and Bad Boys 2.
What the fuck? That is a list of bangers and stinkers, baby.
His name is Mark Goldblatt. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Wait, so Detroit Rock City, banger or stinker?
I liked it. The stinkers were G-Force and Pearl Harbor for me. I'll be honest.
Okay, I'm about to say
Detroit Rock
I
City
like
is-
Detroit Rock City.
It's got its moments, but it's kind of a stinker for me. I don't like Kiss, but I do kind of like that movie a little bit.
So
just a little bit.
It's one of those things where remember when you're like maybe 12 or 13 and you have found like maybe 2 or 3 R-rated movies that you are allowed to watch for some unknown reason.
Mhm.
This was one of the R-rated movies for me. So it has like that Demolition Man and Half Baked.
For me, it was the Spawn movie and Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight, the one that has Billy. What the hell's the Billy that's in Titanic?
Billy Zane?
Billy Zane.
Billy
Zane and Jada Pinkett before she married Will Smith.
Oh, and I'm sorry, you're talking about Billy Zane who was in Zoolander.
Yes,
That
he
is-
was also
that
in
is
Twin-
his best role.
He was also in Twin Peaks as John Justice Jack Wheeler. Yeah.
Also, just quick note: keep Will Smith's wife's name out your mouth, just for the safety of the host of this podcast.
Yeah, I
She's
feel
fucking
like
great in Demon Knight. I'll tell you that.
I feel like I'm going to get slapped. I feel it coming. And he is from West Philadelphia. That's where he was born and raised.
Yep, absolutely. I think it's funny that Spawn was one of the movies you were allowed to watch, as if there were like, there's other restrictions on there, but they're like, no, Spawn, you can watch Spawn.
Because it was cartoony. It was a comic book movie. My stepdad wanted to see it in theaters and no one else in the house did. So like
Nice.
Although funny enough, the Spawn, like the live action movies were way more family friendly than like the HBO cartoon was.
oh yeah, the cartoon was dark as shit. They had that that's some good
Brutal
stuff
shit.
though. So my favorite part of the HBO cartoon was they always had the Todd McFarlane like live action bit at the beginning where he talks about like his thought process for when he was writing the issue it's based off of, and it's usually just him bullshitting about baseball half of the time.
All right, listen, we're talking about things we enjoy. We have to get back to something we
pivot
don't
back
enjoy.
to Firebirds.
Well, to be fair, we need to do that just because the action scenes at the end are very easy and quick to describe. So
yeah.
we're gonna come back to Spawn in a little bit, I guarantee you, because we're gonna need to pad the runtime. So right after this mutual respect conversation between Preston and Little, everything just starts fucking exploding around them. There is nothing visible in the shots that is in the air causing this to occur. It might as well be a fucking mortar strike, but it is, I have to point out, the most gore that you get in this movie is in this scene because one dude gets blown up hardcore, just his arm ripped off. And it's like I said, the most gore you see in the movie is one dude, no gore, one boob, dude gets his arm blown off.
And also my favorite scene in the movie is coming up as well. And I'll tell you why just when we get to it.
Oh, I'm excited for that. So all of the troops start running to get in their helicopters. They don't seem to have a whole lot of actual structures here. It's just like a bunch of helicopters under tarps and shit. So they all sprint for it. Billy gets to her scout helicopter. Her co-pilot has died in the explosions. I'm not sure if it's the dude who got his arm ripped off or not, but either way, she's flying solo, and she's running scout for Little and Preston, who are both. So I'm sorry, Preston and Little are both pilots of separate Apaches, and they have their gunners, Breaker and whatever the name is for Little's gunner. None of us paid attention close enough to catch that one.
It doesn't matter. He's going to die soon.
This is correct. Spoiler alert. So Billy is scouting out like radar setups in the canyon where the cartel is set up, and spots one and they blow it up. And then shortly thereafter, she gets spotted by the cartel pilot who chases and fires at her. Preston engages at this point. Of course, he's not going to let his love interest in the film get shot down, and manages to cut him off with his Apache, and they start chasing him. At this point, we find out that the cartel not only has some mercenary flying some cool, deadly helicopter, they have a fucking fighter jet. Like a
Two fighter jets.
Yeah, 2 of them. I was wondering what was going on with that.
Well, at this point, it's
Halliburton, baby.
I think it's supposed to be a reveal, because at this point they're like, oh my god, they don't just have the helicopter, the only thing that we've seen as far as the cartel's air force is concerned. They also have a fighter jet. Little's gunner manages to take out the jet before the jet shoots down Preston's Apache. And then right after that, this is the I literally have in my notes. They have another fucking fighter jet. So yeah, they apparently had two. It's revealed in this order as well. And even worse at this point, the cartel pilot Staller in the helicopter gets behind Little and shoots out their tail. The cartel pilot at this point switches his target to Preston as Little tries to land the Apache without fucking crashing, but his helicopter goes down. Billy takes her radar helicopter and sets down near where Little's Apache set down, and she runs over. So Little's gunner has died in the landing, and Little has broken both of his legs.
This is my favorite scene. She runs over. She then says, "Are you okay?" And he thinks about it, and he tries to get up. He's just like, "No, both my legs are broken."
It is a great line read from Tommy Lee Jones.
And it's like, I feel like you would know that pretty quickly if your legs were broken.
I mean, he could be in shock.
So then my next favorite part is this girl is in the army. She should know what things are, and he is describing things as to what they look like. He's saying grab the cigar box. Or he says the name of it, and she's like, "What is that?" He's like, "It looks like a cigar box." And now grab the thing that looks like a coffee can, and now put those things together.
That's true, but I'm gonna quibble with it less than you, just because like
I'm not quibbling with it. I just thought it was very funny.
it is funny, but I think it actually played from like a dialogue writing perspective to a certain degree, because like you're like, I'm a helicopter pilot. That when you say something like that, you mean like 2 or maybe 3 vehicles specifically. You know what I mean? Like you don't know what the fuck is outfitted in an Apache if that's not in your.
Oh yeah, no, that thought came into my head too. Just to be clear, I just thought it was funny.
It is funny, but
that was definitely we have to pad the runtime kind of thing, because I feel like they could have just been like, okay, grab the anti-air out of there, and like she just knows how to do it and starts firing. Like this was definitely we have to pad this another 2 minutes.
Well, I'll give them credit for that too, if that's what they did, because it does play really well. Like you said, it's an entertaining scene. Tommy Lee Jones is hilarious running through this. Like he's giving her a play-by-play of what she has to do. What broke me out of the moment a little bit was the fact. So what happens is the fighter jet is circling and strafing at the downed Apache. And so like they huddle in the cockpit the first time it does a pass, and like shoots up the sand right by the Apache. And then Tommy Lee Jones is giving this direction to Billy as she goes and pulls something out of a compartment and puts it together. Now, ultimately what happens is she's assembling like a shoulder mounted rocket launcher and then takes a fucking missile off of the armaments of the Apache and loads it into this and fires it at the fighter jet. Is that a fucking thing?
I have no idea.
Zero idea, not a military man.
I'm sure I could find out, but honestly, I don't think it matters for this movie.
It doesn't, but that seems fucking insane, right?
Seems fucking cool, I'll tell you that much.
I agree, but it seems fucking crazy. It's like, oh yeah, this missile that you fire from a helicopter, we give you this other thing where you can just, for whatever reason, load this missile to remove this missile from the helicopter.
You know what? I think it makes sense, because you can't use the gun when the helicopter's moving. You have to be grounded. I'm going to go ahead and say it makes sense.
Maybe. It seems real cool. I'm not inclined to assume that the U.S. military is actively doing something that is cool and makes sense in an action movie sense. I'm resistant to that notion at the core, but also I've been spending the last several years watching all of the things that have gone wrong with the development of the F-35 or whatever that fucking multi-billion-dollar fighter jet that doesn't work has been going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So them having this level of foresight is something I'm suspicious of. Regardless, it's a cool fucking scene. Billy is assembling this shit, hiding in the cockpit. What was that?
She gets a cool line at the end. She gets a cool like kill him line.
You're gonna have to say the line because I forget it because I just
I don't remember. I just remember it's like a cool guy 80s line that you say before you kill the bad guy.
it's like I got you, sucker.
Yeah, basically, it's the same
Yeah.
thing. It's like you say something, then you fire the thing, and then the people die.
Well, she manages it. She assembles it. She dodges the strafing runs from the jet, and she blows it up with the shoulder-mounted fucking Stinger missile. I guess it's cool.
And I got an answer. It's the FIM 92 Stinger, which can actually use the same munitions as the helicopter.
That's fucking cool.
That is fucking cool.
And I'm gonna take the L. All right, you did something cool, U.S. military. That's pretty fucking dope.
Yeah, it was developed by
Imagining
Raytheon,
Yeah.
apparently.
well,
Oh
there you go.
God.
There you
Like,
go.
okay, look, US military, you have done like 2 cool things since 1939. You killed a bunch of Nazis and you made a gun that can fire a helicopter missile.
Also, I think Russia gets most of the credit for killing Nazis, but
Yeah.
you're right.
Well, you decided that it was a good idea to kill Nazis instead of like, joining the war on the other side, which almost happened a few times.
Or
Yeah, that was
taking
a real close one.
or taking a platform of non-involvement like the Catholic Church. Yeah, well, though they did try that for a little while. Anyway, so Stoller and Preston are still engaged in an aerial dogfight, and Stoller manages to get some shots in on Preston's Apache, shooting through the cockpit and wounding Breaker, who can no longer work the firing mechanisms he needs to be an effective gunner.
Breaker's been broken.
Breaker has been broken, but Preston comes up with a cool, and again, I know nothing about aerial combat or these types of vehicles, but I do got to admit, I think they wrote this final scene for dumb guys like me because it seems like a cool move. Preston decides to try a bold maneuver to catch Stoller. And what that move is to quickly fly over a ridge line, drop down just behind it, and hover. And so he does this, and Stoller blows past the ridge line. And this allows Preston to line up the perfect kill shot and to fire the missiles himself and blows him out of the sky. Pretty cool. They head back, Preston and Breaker head back to the forward operating base that they're working out of, and they sort of get a little bit of a brief as to what's going on. Little's Apache was shot. He had to land it. Billy's there as well. They're sending a medevac helicopter, and Breaker is getting has some bandages on his arm where he was shot. Preston goes and gets on the medical helicopter to go see Little and Billy.
Tommy Lee Jones is very funny during this scene. There's like, God damn, this hurts so much. If you drop me, I forget what he says, but like,
I think he says it's either like he's gonna get you court-martialed or he'll just shoot you, something to that extent.
Yeah, it is pretty funny. Like the medevac guys are strapping him into this whatchamacallit, the cartoon thing where
the gurney.
The gurney. There you go. They strap him into that, and he's offering threats to them if they drop him, and just generally complaining about being in pain. And they load him into the medical helicopter. Oh, I'm sorry. There is a brief scene where Little asks Preston if he killed Stoller, and he's like, "Yeah, I killed the fuck out of him." Basically, that's not verbatim. It's PG-13, but that's the essence of the scene. And then this made me laugh a little bit because like they load up Little in the medical helicopter and just take off. And I'm like, they fucking left Billy and Preston just out here? Like, what's going on? I forgot that Billy's helicopter was still there. I just thought it was funny. But Preston and Billy head back to her helicopter, and then we get the callback joke to them arguing over who gets to drive as they go back to the base. And then credits roll. There you go.
Movie.
It was certainly a movie.
I liked it. I thought it was good trash.
I thought it was bad trash, but again, trash is trash, and you're gonna have your own opinion on it. So, like, it's fine.
It's far from the worst movie I've watched this week. I watched Laser Blast this week, which is one of the worst films I've ever seen. So
I love the poster for that though.
yeah, Laser Blast poster is pretty good, and the alien design is also really fun. But like 45 minutes of just dudes running around in the desert is not a great film.
It's so it's an alien invasion movie with like a chosen child finding some like technology to fight them.
Oh no, it's way stupider than that. They dropped it out of their fucking flying saucer, and some kid that was getting bullied finds it and goes to use it to get back at his bullies.
Oh, see, that I think is way cooler because like
That is
the
way cooler,
tagline,
but it's like stupid as shit in the best possible way.
does this kid like murder a bunch of school children that are mean to him with an alien weapon?
No, he mostly blows up like inanimate objects.
Oh, all right, that's boring. I'm not
Yeah.
interested.
He shoots a fucking billboard for Star Wars.
Oh, they had to have fun writing
Yeah.
that scene. But yeah, no, I didn't hate this film. I wouldn't find myself watching it a whole bunch of times, but honestly, you know, after the nonsense that was Sunny, I enjoyed this. This was, you know, disengage brain, engage helicopter rotors. I was down for that.
I see Sonny is more my trash though. I enjoyed Sonny more than this. But Sonny, again, still trash, still very much trash, but definitely more up my alley of trash.
See, I think the reason why I didn't enjoy Sunny is that we had watched Between Worlds before it.
Yeah.
In the run of episodes. If we hadn't gotten to Between Worlds by then, I probably would have enjoyed the novelty of it. But seeing a weird psychosexual drama done that well versus that poorly as far as competence is concerned, it just you know, didn't land for me.
For me, it's Zandali. Like we had seen Zandali before Sunny,
That-
and Zandali
that-
is a
yeah.
better New Orleans horny movie.
That too.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is a better horny New Orleans movie.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean,
Except
like,
for Acid Yellow. If you could have had Acid Yellow in Zandali, it
Ooh.
would have 5-star movie.
yeah.
I mean, if Acid Yellow was in like 5 more minutes of Sunny, I honestly would have ranked it a little higher.
Same 100%. Honestly, my biggest complaint with Sunny is fucking what's his
Not
name?
enough Acid Yellow.
No, God, I can't believe I'm
Franco?
blank. Yeah,
James
Franco.
Janko.
Franco did not do it for me for the titular character, and that's who we had to watch the whole time.
Oh, you see, he did it for me, but it's because he's also a weird sex freak. So
Yeah, that's
It
true.
just, I don't think the character was competently played in a way that really fleshed him out. Whereas, I mean, this movie, it didn't really care too much about character development, but I mean, at least it went through the steps, right? It at least pretended to care, right? You know, you got the hero, you got the flaw, you got the overcoming, and you have the payoff. It's legitimate character arcs. It might not be done in any way that is sort of clever, but at least it is following a structure, right?
yeah, I'll give it that.
So, and also fucking Tommy Lee Jones fucking kills it in this film.
He was excellent. Yeah, he is the glue that held it together. Honestly, it would have been a lesser film without him.
I would have probably been much more critical if it was not him in that role.
Yeah, he really holds it together. But
His delivery and cadence in the line, it just works so well for that type of character. It draws me in. Like that's how military people fucking talk in my mind, right?
Something I did also appreciate about it is how like healthy his family life is, which is something you don't see in military movies really like ever. Like that dude's got a loving family and kids, and there's no actual conflict drawn out of that, which a lesser movie probably would have.
Yeah, it's no grim dark. We didn't need to spend 40 minutes about, you know, sacrificing your family for your career. It's just about a guy getting old.
Yeah.
And it's funny because then he was one of the main characters in the movie that is only about getting old.
well, I have bad news for everybody.
Oh.
All right.
I rolled the next movie.
Oh God, what do you got?
Season of the Witch.
Oh no, that one is really bad, and it's
I
got the
love that
Star Wars
song.
man.
Oh, wait, it's not the song. We're not just covering a song
No,
here.
no, this has nothing to do
No.
with Donovan.
Oh no.
Wait, which Star Wars man is in it?
Hayden Christensen, I think. I'm pretty sure he's the actual lead, and Nick Cage plays his like
I'm looking.
his
Ron
teacher.
Ron Perlman?
Oh, I love Perlman.
I love me some Perlman too.
I don't see anything about Hayden Christensen. I do see another Star Wars man, also Dracula man, and also B movie man, and man in general, Christopher Lee.
Oh,
Oh, Christopher Lee is hardcore as fuck, man.
Yeah, I love Christopher Lee. I love his metal band that he fronted.
I love that he's Dracula sometimes. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
I'm thinking of a different movie. Huh?
What movie
Oh,
are you
holy
thinking of?
shit.
I don't know.
This has the dude who fucking plays Klaus in Umbrella Academy. Robert
Does it?
Sheehan is in this film.
Oh shit!
I'm gonna find out what fucking movie I'm thinking of with Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, I am curious too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this looks like it's gonna be maybe it's awful, but it looks like it's gonna be kind of glorious, in my opinion.
I mean, from everything it says, it's awful. But also, I have learned the hard way. You already knew this. That critics are wrong like 80% of the time.
Yeah, what the fuck do they know, man?
Oh no,
Critics-
the movie I'm thinking of is Outcast from 2014,
Okay.
Oh,
which is one we will actually have to watch, and I remember it being very, very, very bad.
by the way, directed by the same dude who did Gone in 60 Seconds.
Ooh, shit.
Season of the Witches?
Yep,
Huh.
Dominic Senna.
But yeah, I used to trust critics, and then I remember
Fire.
that they're
Yeah,
the
that's
ones.
that man.
They're the ones who decided Crash was an Oscar-worthy movie, all because Don Cheadle had to watch his mother do heroin or some shit.
Wait, what was that?
In Crash, like Don Cheadle's mom is like a heroin addict.
I forgot Cheadle was in that.
Crash
film.
is such a dog shit movie. Any movie that's like this woman has to forgive her former fucking rapist because he's a cop who's saving her in a car crash is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Definitely not
that
ideal.
movie sucks shit.
I have to. I think it's called Disconnect, the internet version of Crash, which
Okay.
I actually would recommend. It's not a terrible flick.
I mean, there are better movies that are about that, like little stories that kind of converge in the end, like Robert Altman's Shortcuts, which is based on Joseph Carver's writing. There are others. Magnolia, I think, is a better movie that kind of does the same thing.
You know what's fucking hilarious about us pulling Season of the Witch for this? We just had a conversation about the Crusades. There's a lot of Crusades iconography in this shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
I'm actually kind of excited. I love Ron Perlman. I don't think I've seen Ron Perlman in anything where he didn't redeem at least some element of the watching from it.
Ever seen City of Lost Children with him?
Oh, that sounds very familiar.
It's French. He actually speaks fluent French in it, which is kind of cool.
Wait, does he actually in real life speak fluent French, or
I
did
think
he
he
just...
speaks French and he speaks Spanish because he speaks Spanish fluently in Kronos and he speaks French fluently in City of Lost Children.
Huh.
He's also in one of my favorite animated movies, Book of Life.
Oh, there you go. I didn't realize he did a voice for Adventure Time too. Now I'm just looking at
Oh
Ron
yeah, he's
Perlman's- the Lich.
the Lich. Yeah.
He's also, I think, been in almost, if not almost every Fallout game.
He was in an episode of Reno 911, by the way. We were talking about
Oh,
that
yeah.
earlier. He plays a DUI detainee.
So yeah, Fallout
tracks.
1, Fallout 2.
Fallout
Oh.
4.
Oh shit, this has the racist
No
from
Fallout
This Is
3.
England in
Oh,
it.
Fallout 3. No Fallout Brotherhood of Steel.
Hmm.
No, never mind. He wasn't. Okay, he's been in every Fallout.
Amazing.
Oh, because he's a narrator, so he's the war never changes guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, also Christopher Lee, one of my favorite anecdotes about him is he ignored or rather directed Peter Jackson on the stabbing scene in the Lord of the Rings movies, because they're like, this is what happens when you get stabbed, and he's like, that's not what happens when you stab a man. This is the sound a man makes when you stab him in the back. And Peter Jackson was like, holy shit, okay, just do your thing.
Also, Christopher Lee has the best death scene in Lord of the Rings that got cut out of the fucking theatrical version, which sucks.
He's also in the original Wicker Man.
Oh, we
There's
gotta
a
have to watch.
tie-in for you.
We're gonna have to watch the original Wicker Man.
We gotta watch the Nick Cage Wicker Man, which is
Ugh.
one of my favorite fucking films. You guys might hate it, but it is gonna be so much fun to talk about. I'll tell you that much.
All right, we're like an hour 5 in. We
Yeah,
gotta wrap
yeah,
this
yeah,
bitch
I
up.
agree. We
We
always
gotta
get-
wrap this bitch up. We always get caught up at the end talking about things that aren't the movie we just watched.
Yeah,
Y'all want to talk about Spawn some more?
I'm gonna go watch Spawn.
Yeah,
I
no,
might
you,
too, actually.
you get me jazzed up about the next thing that we're gonna watch, and then that makes me think about the possibilities of the future, which I usually need to wash my brain from what we had to review this time. Although, like I said, my general consensus: Firebirds is fine. If you like Firebirds, don't be embarrassed. You just like trash. It's just a particular brand of trash. Embrace it. Until next time, follow us on social media. You can find us on Twitter at cagefight_pod.
And you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/NickCageFight. $3 a month gets you every episode without ads, as well as other tiers to do other things. We're definitely going to do a live stream this month, maybe within the next 30 days, to kind of test that out and see logistically how it would work.
Sounds like a great deal to me, and a fun time for a live stream. I fully endorse it.
Yeah, same. Hell yeah.
All right, folks. We will see you next time. And as always, listeners, we appreciate you.
Bye-bye.